Today we will be exploring the hydrosphere, one of Earth's 4 spheres. The hydrosphere is made up of all the water on the surface of the Earth, underground and in the air.
Across the surface of the Earth, about 70% of the surface is water, and 97.2% of this water is in the world ocean. The world ocean includes the Arctic, Atlantic, Indian, Pacific, and Southern Oceans. Water is collected into groups called reservoirs. These reservoirs include water vapor in the air, the surface ocean, and the deep ocean. The movement of water between these reservoirs are called fluxes. Reservoirs fill and empty through sources and sinks. Sources are inputs to the reservoir. For surface oceans, these include river outlets, precipitation, and snowmelt. Sinks are outputs for the reservoir, like evaporation and deep water currents.
So what causes these fluxes and transfer of water? In freshwater lakes, most of the motion is caused by river channels entering or leaving the lake and waves caused by wind. For oceans, most of the fluxes are caused by temperature differences in the water, waves, and relative salinity. Water near the equator is heated up and moves towards the poles. This pushes cold water at the poles toward the equator, and the cycle repeats. The reservoirs of the world are split up into 2 categories, freshwater and seawater. The difference between them is the salinity of the water, or the amount of salt in the water. This salt came from eroding rocks containing sodium and chloride over geologic time, pouring into our oceans and creating huge basins of salt water. When one thinks of freshwater, we think of lakes and rivers, like the one behind me. However, 2/3 of our freshwater is in the form of ice, glaciers, polar ice caps, and permafrost. Additionally, almost 1/3 of freshwater is groundwater, or water that is stuck in large underground basins called aquifers.
Only a tiny 1% of freshwater is in the form of lakes and rivers. And remember, freshwater as a whole makes up a tiny minority of overall water on planet Earth.
It is important to remember all of the 4 open systems: the lithosphere, atmosphere, biosphere, and hydrosphere, which together form the closed system, Earth.
Despite all of these transformations that occur within geologic cycle and the movement of all the different reservoirs, even across the different phases of water, it is all part of the same total mass. Lastly, we will discuss a fundamental process of the hydrosphere called the water cycle, or hydrologic cycle. This cycle moves both freshwater and seawater around the various reservoirs of the Earth. The first stage of the water cycle is precipitation. This is where the water in the form of rain, snow, hail, or fog drop down from the clouds. Next, infiltration is where the precipitation that fell on the Earth makes its way to oceans, lakes, rivers, and underground reservoirs as surface runoff. The third stage is evaporation. The water in surface reservoirs like oceans and lakes evaporates due to the sun's energy and forms water vapor. This water vapor is less dense than the surrounding air and therefore makes its way higher up into the atmosphere. Water in plants and leaves are absorbed by surrounding air and joins the water vapor rising in the atmosphere in the transpiration stage of the cycle. The final stage is condensation, where the water vapor high up in the atmosphere condenses and forms clouds and water droplets.
Now the entire cycle repeats, starting with precipitation. This concludes our discussion of the Earth's hydrosphere and the water cycle. Thanks for watching. Not only did we want to create this video to teach you what we learned about the hydrosphere and the water cycle, but we wanted to help encourage you to share knowledge that you have to your peers and to help educate the world. To help illustrate this, we created this video using tools that are accessible to you as well. To record video, we used our phone, which was held steady by a box that we cut and then screwed into an old tripod. To record audio, we used an old voice recorder that we found at a garage sale. Use these tools or create your own to help educate the world on whatever you're an expert on.